Right, we're live.
Let us know when we're live, Trig. Ah, excellent. Even better. Right. To those who are listening, apologies for the delay. There was some bizarre magical entity that whisked his way in and stole one of the members of the party, and it took a little while for things to get back on track.
Nobody's listening, dude. Fine.
Yes,
we are a little late, but that's fine because nobody's here anyway. People will catch up with it later. That's fine.
Baradoon.
What?
Baradoon?
Anyway.
Yeah?
It has been a while since we last played. So
yeah, apologies. I've not well last week. Previously, I just flu and headache. I guess eventually I had to get COVID.
Dude, why are you always 5 years late on any trend?
I'm just not fashionable.
Yeah, right.
I'm always behind the trend. It's all right. It was barely hardly worth locking ourselves in a box for a couple of years' work for.
Oh, that's easy for you to say. You're unvaccinated.
Yeah, exactly.
They say if you've had the vaccine, it's so many times worse.
That is a trend that I noticed before anybody else started,
Sorry, what trend?
Before I heard of that being a trend, I noticed it myself, that it seemed as though the people that were suffering from COVID the worst seemed to be the same people who had had the vaccine.
Yeah,
and
you had
especially 100% of the people I know who suffered from quote unquote long COVID were the people who had the vaccine.
Isn't long COVID just you really want to make sure that you get paid without having to go into work?
I've seen people actually suffer for a long time after having it, but I've also noticed from my own anecdotal evidence, I've noticed a correlation between the vaccine and it being worse.
Yeah.
Could it not possibly be also people who have got it worse are more likely to get the vaccine afterwards?
No,
I'm talking about people who already had it. That's utterly irrelevant to what I'm describing anyway.
Because that's one thing I noticed. Like people at work who were early on anti-vaccine, someone in their family got really bad, and then they became very pro-vaccine.
No, I was just referencing the fact that they were advising everyone to stay away from people who were unvaccinated because it was dangerous to be around them because you might catch it off of them because they're the ones who don't have the vaccine.
I mean, there is actually some logic in that.
Is there?
Yeah.
I went to something like the year after that required either proof you're vaccinated or a negative COVID test, and that's when I caught COVID.
It's funny you say that. That's how my brother got COVID. He's like someone in the household caught it, was testing positive. I think it was either my dad or my sister. So they were like isolating from the rest of the household. And then like my folks were like, all right, all the kids, you all have to go up the road to the hall where they set up testing. I went with my brother and he tested positive like a week later and got really ill for a few days and then got better.
Speaking of testing, has Keir Starmer had his AIDS test yet?
Yeah.
What?
Keir Starmer had an AIDS test a couple of weeks ago.
How did that come back?
Oh, well, he was in America recently, so I guess that makes sense.
What?
It's not that. It's more the fact that his boyfriend, Lord Ali, is a bit of a player in the gay scene.
Of course.
And advised him to get a test.
So has our leader, Mr. Starmer, tested positive?
No, he I believe he tested negative.
Well, obviously it would be announced that he tested negative. Imagine if he had tested positive.
Yeah. Age isn't
He'd
a
get
big
a
deal.
grand total of all of the minorities in the country would love him, and everybody else would go, "Ah, he's one of those."
Oh God! Oh, I take back everything I said about AI. AI actually can make funny things.
Oh, AI can make fucking hilarious things.
Here you go. AI was asked to make a joke about AI.
Jalapeno flat pro. Okay.
What, don't you also say jalapeno when you realize you're an AI?
Honestly, I kind of feel like someone actually made that one.
Possibly, but these come from like a video from AI prompts, so
I don't know. They spelled jalapeno correctly.
yeah, AI can spell correctly on occasion.
No, Coatrack. It's pronounced jalapeno. It says it right there.
Yes.
I still think one of the best ones was Bloodlust Murder Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Whatever the hell it wrote on that.
Bloodlust Murder Kill. The most important member of the entire party.
I mean, he literally ended the campaign, so yes.
Yep.
He got an entire world to see. He killed an entire planet in the campaign, so I think it was good.
I'd say, yeah.
So anyway, we were supposed to be playing D&D.
Mm.
Who wants to give us a recap of the previous sessions?
Sure. We fought a big crab. Killed it. Tasted nice.
Yay. Yay.
Actually, it was a small crab riding a very, very large water elemental that spat out water elementals.
In fact, the crab itself was rather gaudy in its overall appearance, being covered in gold filigree and other such aspects of opulence. One may even go so far as to say it was a kingly crab.
It struck me that crab would have had a Persian accent. It would likely have had something very purple that it chilled around it.
Or perhaps it would have spoken in a particular cadence reminiscent of a particular American president. But anyway, the party has spent the last few sessions traveling northwards. The intention is to make their way towards a particular location, a town of Nordshire, one of the more noteworthy settlements within the dwarven kingdoms of Rang and Uriag. Wait, no, not Nordshire. That's a different place. Donheim is where your party is traveling. Let me just move you over to the world map here. The previous session concluded with the party, as previously mentioned, having dispatched a large water elemental, and then the session ended quite promptly afterwards. Now, you are traveling with a definitely not a gnome who goes by the name Heinrich, who, through the use of multiple uses of the command spell from our bard being played by Kiki here, said gnome was definitely not a gnome, was able to be coerced into actually helping the party fight, throwing out several uses of the spell Fireball in the process. But that said, with the fight having come to a conclusion, he looks at your party and he says, "All right, well, that's great, but there's something trying to kill you, and I don't want to be part of you. So, bye-bye." And he turns around and begins traveling southward along the road, seemingly having had enough of the rather chaotic adventures of the of Earth, Wind, and Shire.
How many fireballs
I
did he
thought
use
you were
again?
going the same way as we were.
I am, but I've decided that I'm going to take a break from travel. Give it a week.
But we're just beating all the bad guys.
So far,
I mean,
If,
it's fun and adventure.
if there's any more, they'll be behind us.
Uh-huh.
he's currently waving in your
many-
direction. And
How many fireballs did he
wandering
use?
away.
I was trying to.
If memory serves, he cast, I believe, 3 fireballs.
Unless he's really strong, he's probably out, guys.
Speaking of, maybe we should make camp because I only have 9 hit points.
Well, as a matter of fact, it is currently the morning, and your party only recently finished having had a long rest in the nearby inn just south of the bridge.
Has the rain stopped?
Indeed, it has. In fact, the rain cleared up somewhat gradually over the course of the minute or so that this previous session's battle took place. And by the time the crab was thoroughly steamed and on the ground ready for consumption, there was practically nary a cloud in the sky.
So we can get the dogs back out and take a short rest while we eat this delicious steamed crab.
Sounds like a plan. Short rest. Not a bad idea.
And we can all do our Song of Rest.
Yeah, Song of Rest.
Song of rest.
Now, I believe I came up with a bit of a homebrew rule on how the Song of Rest works. Could you post the effect of the Song of Rest to the channel, please, to the in-game? Thank you very much, Ez.
There you go.
Just give this a quick read over. Yes. I believe the way I did it was you all get to roll a d6 and hang on, let me just double check. If you or any friend at the end of a short rest, spending 1 or more hit dice, each of those creatures regains extra 1d6 hit points. The extra hit points increases when you reach certain levels. Yeah, so basically each of you roll a d6, and then all of you gain the total in addition to your rolled hit die. So that's a 6
strong.
from Ez, a
Big
2
stain
from
to
Trig,
form.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kiki
a
following
2 from
Trig.
Kiki, and a 1 from Coatrack.
We got our bardic inspirations back, right?
So that's what 11
Yeah.
Yes.
plus our hit dice.
Indeed. Each of you who wants to roll a hit dice can roll their hit dice, and then in addition to whatever their hit dice provides them in terms of healing, also add 11 to that.
Actually, it wasn't hurt, so no.
Oh, nice.
No, neither was I. We'd used pretty much all of our bardic inspirations, though.
Yeah, but short rest, we get back all our
I know
inspirations.
that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I wasn't complaining about that. Neither was Kiki. I was just saying that health. I had no reason to roll my own health dice.
Hmm.
No, it's just to heal Ez because he's whinging about
Yeah.
his boo-boo.
No, not that. I'm talking about the what do you call them?
Oh
Hit
yeah.
dice.
So you all have a quick little jam session on the bridge, and by the time the hour-long short rest is over, both Bobby and Cardgar can regain a total of 11 plus 8 for Cardgar and plus 6 for Bobby, plus any additional hit die they may want to roll.
Might roll another hit.
May as well roll a few more.
I can't actually
You
remember.
get
Bear in
half
mind
of them
that-
back every long rest.
But my
That's
Yeah.
correct. There are no limit to the number of hit die you can roll during a short rest, and you gain half of your hit die back when you complete a long rest.
Well, I'm happy with this. I've gone from 9 hit points to 34.
nice.
My
Still quite a
recommendation
ways
will
off
be
my
that
thought.
you expend hit die until you are at full. After all, you never know when you may need more hit points.
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
Fair enough.
That's certainly what I always do whenever I'm playing in a game myself.
I mean, do you use hit dice for anything else?
No.
There are very select few uses for hit die, and by far the most common use is precisely what you're doing right.
Are there? Wait,
precisely what you're doing right now.
Are there other uses?
Yes. The only one that comes to mind is that you can use hit die during a particular druid spell in order to heal, albeit that's during the use of a spell rather than during a short rest.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going down that route, you can use it for second wind as well, can't you?
No. When you do a second wind, it's functionally identical to spending a hit die, but a fighter's second wind does not consume a hit die.
Okay.
It's considered a separate thing. Anyway, with that said, if you have rolled all the hit die you want to do and are presumably back to full health, which typically if you consume most of your hit die, that's usually enough to get you all the way up to max unless you are tremendously unlucky. You have completed an hour-long rest upon the bridge that connects the southern and northern parts of this little spit of land upon which you would normally see a variety of small boats traveling underneath. And you now have the opportunity to continue your travel northwards. During your time resting upon the bridge, you haven't spotted any other people traveling, though.
I'd like to make sure that this crab remnants is good for storage because I'd quite like to make a nice hat out of it.
Righto. The crab in its current form is effectively a whole steamed crab, the main body of which is approximately a foot across. So it's quite a hefty crab. If you want to, you could crack it open and eat it, though by the time you're done with this hour-long rest, it would be at best lukewarm.
We don't eat it like at the end of the long rest. You have it near the start.
Okay. I would say if you want to keep the shell for ornamental purposes, I would ask you to make a skill check of some kind to determine your skill in cracking it open without damaging it from a potentially cosmetic point of view.
Okay. Let's go with a nature, maybe.
Yeah, I could see that working. I assume that one of your companions is going to give you inspiration.
I don't remember what for, but sure.
I'm going to use a lucky on that. And
All right.
again, 11 good enough, right?
11 is certainly better than a 6. Bear in mind, you only get 3 uses of lucky, so if that's
I know I'm burning them for the crab.
Yeah, I know. So you've used 2 of your 3 uses of lucky in attempting to crack open a crab. Essex said that he was going to use one of his only remaining bardic inspirations for you, so go ahead and roll an additional d8.
Wait, sorry, is this before the rest?
Yes, this is at the start of the rest before
Oh,
your
well, I
bardic
only had one
inspiration
left,
will
so
be-
that works out. I think I had one
Well,
left.
there we
Anyway,
go.
I had already brought it up to 5 because I thought we were resting, but I know it was above 0.
Well,
Right,
17.
Good to know. A total of 17 is perfectly sufficient to carefully pry open the crab without cracking through any of the important parts that would be easily visible in the event of trying to mount this on a wall or, keep it as a ornamental trophy. And in doing so, you expose the light pink, soft, steamed flesh underneath. It smells unlike typical crab, but not necessarily bad. Strangely enough, there is a slight whiff of. Well, actually, give me a perception check.
Good God, the text is so small from this distance.
A 10 is enough. As you crack open the thing, you're able to get a very slight hint of a whiff of almond from the inside of this crab's flesh, which is very unusual for a crab. You wouldn't expect a you wouldn't expect a sea creature to have a nutty overtone to it.
Well, we eat it and it's delicious.
Indeed,
Anyway.
you do.
Are we moving northwards to, was it Varpak? Or Donheim?
Varpak is to the south. Donheim is where you guys have been trying to travel to so far. It takes a little while for you to encounter somebody else along the road, but eventually you do see a selection of what appears to be dwarven mercenaries, all kitted up in the what appear to be military gear, the likes of halberds and properly made suits of armor, are all traveling southward. They largely look as though they are part of a uniformed squadron, but you can tell that there's significant deviation in their equipment, that this is likely a private military affair. They don't seem to pay you much mind as you are making your way in their direction, seemingly confident in their ability to deal with any potential ne'er-do-wells. And if you don't address them at all, they would simply give some of them would give a wave in your direction as they travel past, but there isn't really a particularly large amount of noteworthy aspects to them.
I'm going to advise them to be careful, as there is a particularly shifty-looking, not quite a gnome that we passed on the way here, who doesn't seem entirely trustworthy.
One of the
Let
one
them
of the
know he seems to be
dwarves
some
who
kind of
is
wizard.
one of the dwarves who is walking along makes a note of this and thanks you. And you can hear a moment later he runs over to what you can only presume to be a superior of some kind and informs said person. And what you're not able to hear what the dwarf that spoke to you directly says to his superior, but you are able to hear the results of said information. As said superior dwarf just simply calls out, "Fucking gnomes!" It appears as though whoever this individual is doesn't like gnomes.
Well, who?
Inherently evil little creatures. Did you know that gnomes are the only intelligent race to be considered cannibalistic?
What? Not even all.
Orcs aren't
Even orcs.
intelligent.
The only thing I can say to this is oy vey.
Just double checking. That's specific to this world you're talking about, right?
Don't worry. I wasn't saying anything canon there. I was just I was just giving you a bit of racism there.
Got it. Fair. Sorry, I was taking that as a lore dump for a moment.
Well, you could choose to if you want. It's the kind of
Yes,
thing
I
that I
could.
imagine Essig would come up with.
Essig's one of my less racist characters, actually.
Oh, really? It's just dwarfs that he has an inherent hatred of, is it?
No, it's just the one that threw a rock at his head.
Yeah, that's fair, actually, now that I think about it. Bad first impressions and all that.
Yeah, attempted murder tends to make people not like you.
Yeah.
Mm.
I have a grudge to hold, though.
Yeah, you're way better off actually succeeding. At least then you have at least one person less than.
Yes.
It's okay, I went and destroyed all of his meaningful relationships.
Well, in that case, even better.
And traumatized him multiple times.
So
On the edge of death with mental psychic damage.
Not quite a stealth mission, but
Can confirm.
Wasn't too loud about it, actually.
no, I was thinking more stealth by making sure no one witnessed it.
I mean, he witnessed it, but that's kind of it.
The dwarf in question, for anybody who isn't aware, anybody who may be listening afterwards, I haven't yet decided whether or not he's going to commit suicide at some point. But I wouldn't rule it out.
Can bards do stealth missions? It's still considered a stealth mission if you leave no survivors. But if you've killed everyone with insults.
Oh, cause of death, psychic damage. Must have been a fucking bard.
I must admit, psychic damage doesn't tend to leave much trace of cause of death. It kind of requires the use of somebody to come in afterwards with the use of a speak with dead spell in order to figure out precisely what happened. But it is, of course, worth pointing out that were you to do such a thing, you probably wouldn't get much in the way of response, because even the pseudo soul that is answering on behalf of the recently deceased would probably be quite embarrassed to admit that, oh yes, I got mocked to death.
I mean, I did take Speak with Dead, but only so that I could continue mocking the thing after it had died.
Hey, you have to bear in mind that any insults that you levy upon a dead creature via Speak with Dead have to be done in the form of a question, otherwise it won't work. So instead of...
Why are you so ugly?
Yes, or for example, is your mother still a whore?
So basically, it's like Jeopardy. Everything has to be in the form of a question, but you're making a statement anyway. Got it.
Exactly.
Who is the dumbass bitch that died from my insults a few minutes ago?
I have some good news. Violence's Life is currently listening through your stream trig.
Ah. Greetings.
Vill's a good person.
Don't know him, but the name's good.
Anyway, let's just say that the remainder of the travel from the bridge to Donheim is a trek that you are able to just about complete over the course of this next day's worth of travel, especially considering you are all now traveling with mounts, and you're able to cover the distance a little bit faster than when you were being perpetually pelted by a tremendous storm. That being said, during your travel, I would like you guys to figure out if there is anything in particular you would like to do as you're traveling along the road. I do have to step away for a few minutes, so I should be back in no more than 10:15. I do apologize. I know we haven't been going for very long, but things were delayed. I'll be back as soon as.
Oh crap! 10:15 is
and
like
also,
8 hours from now.
Also, I will be able to hear what you guys are saying. So, if you want to just say anything that you want me to hear and respond to back when I get back, I'll be able to hear you. So, be back shortly.
So we can't call you a nigger.
Okay, so what's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 9 plus 2 plus 3 plus 8 plus 9 plus 2 plus 3 plus 8 plus 9?
Stop it.
Just come on, I could have kept that going throughout the entire time he was gone and forced him to answer.
Stuff in my brain was keeping up for a while then, and then it just sort of went. And...
It was about 37.
Also get the square root as well, please, Ginge.
Just over 6 then?
Don't give them the answers.
Never. I'm going to have to turn Twitter/X off at the moment. It's too much nonsense going off in the background. For me to, I can usually sort of semi-multitask and go, oh, that's going off as well.
I found that is the absolute worst thing for me to attempt to do while I'm playing an RP. I found it's way less distracting to literally just play a video game.
yeah. Well, at the present moment, apparently the Russians have just surrounded the Ukrainian forces in Kursk, so that's the remainder of the Ukrainian army, basically, is now
strong negotiating position. Good thing he didn't negotiate that like a few days ago.
Completely fucked now, yeah. So they're all going to die, and Britain's only remaining political party that had any chance of being any sort of semblance of hope for the British people has just exploded.
So Reform's dead?
What happened to the Green Party trig?
Yeah, because Nigel Farage is a complete fucking twat.
I'll start a thing. I couldn't have seen this coming. Anyway, so what happened?
Apparently, Rupert Lowe, who is largely the most popular person in the Reform Party, said something that got Nigel Farage's fucking panties in a twist, and they called the cops on him. So Rupert Lowe's gone, fuck you, you bunch of children, I'm out, get fucked. Essentially.
Can't believe this would happen.
I know. I've been calling this one for fucking ages. The amount of people are going, no, you don't understand. Nigel Farage is a good boy. He's this, that, and the other. He's not a complete fucking egotistical fucking twat. You're completely wrong about this, Trig. You don't know. You don't know Nigel as well as I do. Nigel's the best person. He's the big great white hope of England. He's this guy. He's the fucking hero. He's the messiah. And it's like, no, he's not. He's a tosser. And guess what? He's proven to be a tosser once again.
How many times will it take for people to notice this?
I don't know. I've been saying it since 2016 that the man's a tosser. And I was late into the game on that one. There's been an awful lot of people who have been going, no, I don't trust Nigel Farage, he's a fucking twat. He said he speaks a good game, and yeah. I used to be, oh no, Nigel's a good boy. No, he's not. He's a twat.
Oh God! Speaking of Ukraine, by the way,
fuck.
a blog that I like to visit, it's a tech blog. They've only just now put a Ukraine flag up.
Oh, okay.
A bit late. I'm just reading on it right now. It's like there's a Ukraine flag here, standing for Ukraine. It's like you're a bit late.
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of over for them. And you know what? They can blame it on America and this, that, and the other, but it's not. It was over for them the moment they charged into Kursk. I said at the time, as well, they're gonna get themselves fucking surrounded and cut off. It's taken a while, but winter in that part of the world is a bit nasty.
Mm-hmm.
The thaws happened, and all of a sudden they're surrounded.
Has no one ever read about the Battle of the Bulge?
Yeah, it's not just that.
It was literally
literally the same sort of thing. Yeah, they're asking to get cut off, and it's not only that. Just read your history. Napoleon did not do well.
So, I was going to say, do the Russians get to be arrogant again about invading Russia?
Yeah, and you actually start invading Russia. Yeah, you're gonna get fucked up, man. It's gonna happen to you. It fucking happened to everybody.
It's okay, Trig. The Brits still need to learn this lesson.
So Afghanistan is the graveyard.
Sure we learn it.
Afghanistan's the graveyard of empires. Russia's the graveyard of everyone else in Europe.
Everyone else in Europe, yes, exactly.
Yeah. But Europe's going to rearm so they can support Ukraine even after America sues for peace.
I mean, you know what? On some fronts, I don't mind the fact that Europe is taking their defense seriously, because for far too long we've just gone, oh, America will sort everything out.
Well, we didn't.
Yeah, and being as they're going to have to start rearming quickly and buying stuff on the open market, they're going to have to turn to big countries that are used to selling weapons to other countries, which means America and England are going to get very wealthy out of this. It's literally that. What's going to happen is Europe is going to buy shitloads of weapons from America. America's just it's you know what, it's not just 4D. Once again, it's 10D chess. Donald Trump has just basically sold NATO and Europe huge amounts of firearms. Again. He doesn't, nobody's done that math yet, but yeah, they're gonna need to buy stuff quickly, and it's gonna have to be conformed to the NATO standard, which America dictates. So they're going to end up. I mean, there'll be the Sig Spear, but that was made in America these days. There'll be the F-35s, which is made in America, and there's some bits in England.
I apologize if Ginger gets back by the time I return, but I have finally been released from my confinement, so I'll be back.
Ah, really? Yes. It's
Heard anything new about the farmer protests? Rick?
Oh, they keep on going on. The problem is that I mean, there was one the other day. They are happening quite regularly. That's the presser board of reporting on it. Which is actually a very, clever way of silencing them. You just don't report about it. And eventually it ends up being, a handful of crazies standing outside of Parliament. Being grumpy. Like the, Remain fags after Brexit. Right. Fucking no. No more X. No more Twitter. I keep clicking over and going, oh yeah, this has just happened. Someone liked my post about other thing. I've had yet another fucking actual Nazi with actual fucking Nazi sort of details in his bio liking and following my account. I was like, oh, fucking cringe. Why? Why can't you just be normal, decent people? Why do you have to actually go, oh, lol, I'm going to fucking wave swastikas and fucking black suns about in my profile? Because it's such a fucking fed up at that point. It's untrue. If they're not a fed, they may as well, fucking sign up to be a fed. Because they're not doing anybody any favours by fucking liking them with those sorts of optics. All it was me banging on about halal slaughter. Frankly, should be banned, and if they don't like it, they can go somewhere where it's more culturally appropriate to their country and requirements. I think it's perfectly reasonable. Speaking of non-halal shit, let's get some beer in on the case. See some.
Been a lot of talk about anti-halal lately.
Well, that's because it's fucking barbaric.
Well, when I say that, it's generally anti-halal and anti-kosher in the same sentence. Though only one of those is being pushed into the mainstream. So I'll say to that.
Does kosher allow for stunning the animal into unconsciousness before?
I know nothing against that, but traditionalists are going to tradition, right?
Yeah, but
I'm sure. Just as I know there are Jews in Israel who have all the tools needed to sacrifice a red heifer right next to the wall, so as soon as they find one, they can do it as quickly as possible. Their job is literally to sit there in preparation. I'm sure there are ones all over the world that are like, we must do it the way it was done 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
But as far as I understand, like there's nothing against using a taser or whatever, or electricity. And I've even heard of some rabbis say that like the bolt through the head is acceptable as long as you follow all the rituals.
I don't mind some beady guy mumbling stuff over, around it beforehand, wearing whatever fancy dress they want to wear.
I can't speak for the halal traditions because I genuinely don't know enough. But for the kosher thing, like most of the prayers are a mixture of thanking God for the animal, for the food that will come of it, and praying for the animal's soul.
I know halal they tie basically a noose around the back legs. They yoink it up into the air, so it's hanging upside down, and then they cut its throat while it's alive, unconscious.
Did I ever tell you about that time when I was in university where I got approached by some Muslim men who thought I was a Muslim, and they invited me to go out to the countryside to a barn to slaughter an animal?
Yeah.
And when I started asking them, first they were like, "Oh well, he must be a modern Muslim who doesn't know." And it's like, well, look, you see, in the culture, it's a way to prove you are a man. You're meant to do this every year. To which I then said to them, well, I'm not a Muslim, and they quite quickly didn't want to talk about it anymore.
Yep. There's been quite a few cases of cattle mutilations by aliens.
Well, my understanding
just
from
never
how
realised
they
it was
explained
Islamic aliens.
the way they explained it, and obviously they might not have been 100% honest, but they explained it basically. They get a farmer out of the country and say, look, we want to buy one of your really old cows that's past its prime to kill it, and you can keep the meat afterwards. We just want to keep it, and apparently that's what they do.
Yeah, there's quite a few cases recently though where they've just found an animal has been hacked to death.
Well, keep in mind that my story is from when I was at uni, so that was 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the population has changed in over a decade.
Yeah, they have an awful lot less respect these days, or at least they are willing to show their lack of respect more readily.
Or maybe it's a different caliber of Muslim these days. I can't really judge on that. The fact is,
when the aliens mutilate cows, it's just Muslims.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the fact is, I've worked with Muslims in past jobs, and the ones I've worked with have actually been pretty decent and genuinely curious to learn about Judaism, because they were taught nothing about it except for, well, the ones that were taught were generally taught things that they said this was obviously a lie because you're described as abhuman, and in London you can't really say that you're not going to come across a Jew sooner or later.
I try not to. I find that slightly disrespectful.
Well, you going to London would be very disrespectful, yes.
Yeah, that too. There's the light.
Ginger's been
Right,
away for
I'm
a
back
while,
now.
hasn't he?
Right.
Cool.
Oh, there he is.
That's deeply ironic. Just as you say that I was gone for a while, I get back.
Yeah. Everything good?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Neat.
Just dealing with some troubles, but the troubles are dealt with.
What's this message from
Frankly,
5 minutes
no
ago,
irony.
Ginger? Oh, you said you were gonna wait until someone mentioned you being gone to come back? Okay.
Ginger, you said if we had any questions in the meantime, you'd be listening and you'd answer when you got back. Have you got one for Coat? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm allergic to maths.
Just say 37. Close enough.
42, surely.
Well, if he'd added another 5 on the end, then yes. There's going to be someone who goes back and actually counts it up and to double check my if I got the right number.
I mean, to be honest, I from the vague mental arithmetic that I did as he was reaming off all of those numbers, I came to somewhere in the low 50s. But as I say, I'm allergic to maths, so I'm not. I have less faith in my own statement there than I do in the Reform Party of the UK.
I'm guessing that's not much.
No. Anyway, right, you guys. One of the things that I said before I went is that I asked you guys to think of anything that you wanted to do on the road to Donheim, and if there isn't anything, then I could just say that you arrive. It was a pleasant journey. Is there any troubles that you want to get up to whilst you're on the road?
If I spot a squirrel, I insult it.
You know what? Roll me a perception check. Spotting a squirrel in this area of the world is not out of the question. You do manage to spot a squirrel, but not within the 60-foot range of your not within the 60-foot range of your vicious mockery, unless you want to literally just call it a cunt from half a mile away.
You can spot
Damn, I have good eyes.
I was going to say, holy shit, you can spot a squirrel at half a mile. Fuck.
I mean, he is
He's
an
an
elf.
he's got elven blood in him.
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
naturally gifted at spotting small and insignificant creatures to attack.
Jeez.
This ancient elven technique of LASIK.
What do your elven eyes see? Right, 15 wanky little squirrels right over there, about 20 miles. little shits. Oi, squirrel! Fuck you!
Dumb question, Jen. If we get some kind of enchanted megaphone type device, would that increase the range of our vicious mockery?
That would absolutely have to be a custom item, but I don't see why not. He said with trepidation.
If you can describe it to Cardgar, maybe he can create it.
No, this would have to be a magical item, and I am quite confident that your creation magic specifies non-magical items.
I guess, but couldn't we just invent megaphones?
You could, but a megaphone wouldn't allow you to increase the damaging the damaging effect range of the vicious mockery.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about just the range of it.
No. You could cast a vicious mockery, yell it through a microphone, and everybody for a great distance would be able to hear that you just cast vicious mockery and yelled through a microphone. But only if your target happened to be within the 60-foot range would that target then actually receive the psychic damage.
If you take the feat that gives you a familiar, you can cast your spells through your familiar, right?
You can, but I believe that's restricted to touch-based spells.
It is, yeah.
Damn it! I wanted to get a bird as a familiar and use it as a Twitter mockery bot.
Can you use vicious mockery when you're communicating using like sending or other something like through magic?
I have to hear you, I believe, specifically. Let me
So,
let me just go look at the exact words.
Communication wouldn't count.
No, unfortunately, you couldn't use sending to viciously mock somebody half a planet away.
They would get the message. They wouldn't take the psychic damage. They would
It's
just
a
go
verbal.
up yours back.
It's a verbal cantrip that requires them to be able to hear you, and of course, be within 60 feet.
So
we can't just pass
damage, but retain the emotional damage.
You have to be able to see them. They have to be able to hear you.
So we can't just cast sending on like Charybdis and say, "Lol, you suck."
Oh no, this guy's so old. I can't use vicious mockery on him.
I mean, the thing is, as with most gods, you could probably just say that, and they would get all fucking iffy about it anyway, because old gods tend to be a bit thin-skinned for some reason.
Well, as a matter of fact, roll me a religion check.
Definitely.
What, all of us or just Trig?
Just Trig. Since he's the one who brought up that. That is sufficient to know that, broadly speaking, any god that you make the mental effort to pray to can hear messages that you pray at them. Like any mortal creature capable of forming an internal monologue thought could transmit that thought to a god of their choice just by wanting to. The god doesn't have to respond, and typically they hear these messages and just give the proverbial middle finger in response. But
so hold on, you saying that when Bobby's shagging like a couple of groupies and they're going and shouting, "Oh God, oh God," the god's actually hearing that?
Yes. Most
Awesome.
likely the god of Anagi would be paying the most attention.
Yeah.
But
bit
But
weird,
but the
isn't
god Anagi, if the god Anagi would not only be able to hear that, but would most likely approve.
it? Bit voyeuristic, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's watching like how many at the same time at any point in time?
I mean, that's fair.
Oh,
So that
Is that not even more creepy?
It's like a mall cop, like with just tons of cameras and they're all on people doing it.
It's like so essentially that's the owner of Pornhub having a million monitors all with a different porn video running at the same time.
Oh god damn it!
Yeah,
I
it's
have
like
to
the
take that one down.
CCTV room, but the CCTV
Congrat-
room, but it's all different porn videos.
Pretty much, yes. Like the god of good times and sexy times, Anagi. A half decent analogy would be that scene from The Matrix with the guy sitting surrounded by all the screens.
Oh, I've got a better image for you. Hold on a second. You know the film Moonraker?
I don't.
Isn't that James Bond?
It is a James Bond. Oh my god! You've never seen a Moon?
Trig.
Wait, I actually
you have
might
to
have
understand.
seen that one in Gavala a couple. Does it have the space station in it?
It does have the space station in it. It also has the most
In the
badass...
Marines, right?
I could say with a great degree of confidence that I have seen less movies than Coatrack.
It also has...
I don't know about that. I just happened to watch that in Cabal.
It has a badass control room. Hold on a second. I'll post a picture of it in the D&D room. Guys, to see they have the launch control. This is always the image I have in my head when I envisage somebody with a large amount of screens in a room. Maybe fewer people running around in yellow jumpsuits. But yes.
I don't know. I think the people in yellow jumpsuits adds to it.
Maybe,
and
yeah.
having them there as well as every screen showing a different porno is.
I mean, you could actually go a bit. Oh god, which one was it? It was a Mel Brooks movie. It was either a Mel Brooks movie or a Woody Allen movie where they had a similar scene, but everyone was dressed as a sperm and basically like sort of in white jumpsuits with a very big round white helmet on.
Isn't that Spaceballs?
It might be Spaceballs actually. Yes, it might well be Spaceballs. It was a movie like that. It was of that era. It was either Spaceballs or Sleeper. Sleeper's a fucking weird film. That's a good one. Yeah, not a massive fan of Woody Allen.
I was going to take this out to Vil, but I may as well just say it. I may as well just say it in the stream so that everybody can hear. Generally speaking, any analogy that you want to use to give visual reference to how the gods are able to receive all this information is probably close enough for the sake of relevance. But ultimately, any given god within my D&D setting is capable of both receiving and comprehending an unlimited quantity of information that is sent towards them. It's basically it's basically a part of their divine essence that grants them this ability.
So basically, they're actually believable gods. Yeah.
Or Chat GPT.
Do you reckon we could condense down that essence and drink it as like a cocktail?
I don't think it's that kind of essence.
Depends on the nature of the cocktail.
The kanji for essence does also mean that.
I will say that it is broadly believed by anybody who has even a vague understanding of how the gods work that divinity is transferable. Nobody really knows the process, but sometimes it has been known that one god has been able to transfer its divine essence into a formerly mortal entity and effectively trade places. But anyway, all that aside, I asked you guys if there was anything that you wanted to accomplish whilst you were on the road, and if not, we will transfer through to
I'm gonna walk up to that squirrel.
through to Donheim.
I'm gonna walk up to that squirrel.
Okay. You begin to approach the squirrel by walking off of the road and turning off towards the left. You would estimate that it's about a minute's walk away at a reasonable pace.
Okay.
And by the time you get to, I would say, within 50, 60 feet, it's been about 2 or 3 minutes worth of veering off track.
Yeah, an ugly waste of my time, squirrel.
That is within character of the elves. I shall roll to see if the squirrel is able to.
Wisdom 16.
A natural 18 allows the squirrel to look at your attempt at insulting it, and it responds with a kind of squeaking noise, and doesn't seem to take much notice of it.
All right.
You still be Bards.
6 seconds later. I'm getting real sick of this, you ugly piece of shit.
Okay, let's roll again. This time it's a 12, which is insufficient to allow it to save. Roll your psychic damage.
2d4. So it does. If it has more than, if it has less than 2 health, or no more than 2 health, it's just dead. Does it actually have more than 2 health?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, it's dead.
Actually, what would a squirrel's HP be?
I mean, like a normal dude is like what, 4?
It would be not as far as I'm concerned. Not regular old, like a baby would have like 2 HP.
Right.
A regular dude would have
since we got curious, I looked it up. 1. They have 1.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's dead. You insult it for the second time, and it just kind of looks at you confused, and then just kind of you know what happens when you put a jacket on a cat? It just kind of gives up and falls over. That squirrel just.
I take the squirrel corpse back to the party.
Righto. You all see as you all see as Coatrack has Essig has come back to the party after 5 or so minutes of having a random excursion out into the wilderness, carrying a dead squirrel. I can only presume he looks terribly proud of himself.
He looks like he has no emotions on the matter. Maybe mildly annoyed that it took him 2 insults to kill a squirrel.
Yeah, I can see that. After all, it was a squirrel. So anyway, as your party continues to travel along the road, it gets towards the evening by the time you see a sign that reads in Dwarven, so presumably read by Cardgar and translated. It just simply says Donheim in half a mile. And true to that, as you guys are looking along down the road, you are able to see that there does appear to be the vestiges of some form of a civilization up ahead. You can see that there is a few little smatterings of buildings, but there is 2 structures which immediately catch your eye. A pair of what appear to be temples or churches or some other kind of religious institution that is only really able to be identified as such due to the height of the spires, which are able to be spotted from some distance away. It's not too long before you arrive at Donheim, which is noteworthy for lacking a wall, unlike the dwarven city of Varpak that you have travelled to previously. And whilst there isn't much in the way of a wall, there is sort of a guardhouse on the outside of the road as you are travelling in, and you see a dwarven man just observing your party as you travel in. He doesn't call you over or anything, but you are able to spot that he is making a seemingly a note of your entry into the town. That said, I will give you a brief description of the appearance of Donheim as you make your way in.
Sorry, say again. Who was making a note of our entrance?
There was a small guardhouse positioned just off of the
right.
road that leads into Donheim. And inside of this guardhouse, there was a dwarven fellow who didn't call you over to him, but did seemingly make note of your entry into the immediate vicinity. You assume that there's some kind of passive tracking of who comes in and out.
Can I
What's that said?
Can I do minor illusion and make sure that there is at least one or two more of us following behind?
Minor illusions are static.
Yeah. Are they We've had this discussion before. Are they static relative to me, or static relative to the world?
They are static relative to the world.
Right. Well, I can't just make.
That'd be weird if it was relative to you. Like
Well,
you put like a cup on a table, like it's an image of a cup on a table. You take a few steps away, the cup's just floating.
Yeah, but I could do. But in that case, I can't do a minor illusion of me wearing a hat and walk around because the hat would stay behind as I walked.
That's correct. If you wanted to do something of that nature, you would. I believe Major Image allows you to create moving images, but is restricted to within a 5 by 5 by 5 cube of space.
So 1 square, so I couldn't actually move out of it.
You'd be able to move around inside of the square, but not out of it, no.
Right.
Well, that's what the Sky Self is for.
If this guy's tracking who's coming in and out of the city, and how many people are here, we could keep coming and going and using the what's it called? Using the parlor to
No, even better. I can do a minor illusion of a painting of the road right in front of his of the window of his gatehouse.
Right.
So
like a security camera, like having like looped footage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's just looking out on an empty road, but people are walking up and down.
I'm going to roll a dice.
And
I would like you to roll a perception check.
Sure.
Okay. With that said, feel free to do whatever plans you have in mind.
Okay. I'm going to do a very bad image of what I think the road would look like behind me and from his point of view, but as an empty one without anybody in there. as a minor illusion in front of the.
Seeing you start, I'm gonna say let's not cause problems.
You can laugh. It's all right.
Okay. I will say the minor illusion appears the moment you click the spell to have it appear in the chat.
Okay.
As soon as minor illusion is cast, you immediately hear a confused dwarf noises coming from within the guardhouse, and approximately 2 or 3 seconds later, you hear footsteps as he is apparently making his way out of the guardhouse.
Okay.
I would say if you want to do anything else, you have but a moment to respond or react.
I'm going to act completely nonchalantly as if I've done absolutely nothing at all.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to ask you to roll me a sleight of hand check to see how well you were able to conceal the fact that you were casting the minor illusion cantrip in the first place.
I would like to grant a bardic inspiration to this.
Okay.
So, D8.
That's a D8.
My rolls are awful.
Okay.
So that's a 14 in total.
Indeed. And, well, what happens is the dwarf, who is a red-haired fellow who quickly makes his way out of the guardhouse, steps out around to the front where his observation window was, looks in, looks at your party, and then calls out in common, "All right, I see what you done. Nice trick. I'll be keeping an eye on you lot." And walks back into the guardhouse.
I shout after him, "Where's a good place to put on a rock concert?"
He stops for a moment and then looks back at you and says, "The mines, I guess." Roll me inside.
Insight? Yeah, sure.
That's not a bad idea, you know.
No, the acoustics would be awesome.
You get the distinct impression that when you said rock concert, he thought rock meant as in like stones.
Yep.
And he probably doesn't know what a concert is. So he probably, you get the impression he was probably just asking, he probably thinks that you were asking him where you would find some rocks.
I give him a thumbs up, roll my eyes to the rest of the party and go, sometime.
Given that he's clearly...
Cardgar, educate your people.
Yeah, given that this guy is clearly a retard and has said that he wants to keep an eye on us, before we make a move, I would like to put another illusion up of us standing there looking at him on the other side of the hut, so that he has that left with him.
What, like a photo?
Okay, that's... Just so that you know, I rolled another perception check to see if he's able to discern the nature of the second minor illusion, and whereas earlier he rolled a total of 19, this time he's rolled a total of 8. And it's it's about a minute away after you guys have already traveled back down the road when you hear angry dwarf noises coming from behind, as at first you hear him shouting, "What the fuck are you standing there for? Get moving!" Before you hear more angry dwarf noises as he steps out and looks down the road at you and just... Well, Cardgar, you're able to hear what is said as he apparently switches language, and I suppose Essig would be able to understand as well. And it's just a string of insults. Quite frankly, it's beautiful to hear. But as far as the halflings of the party are concerned, there is just a tremendously pissed off dwarf now.
Literally just a Scottish person reverting to their accent with their angry, and we can understand it because we speak Scottish or Norman, which is just
Just out of curiosity, but in the minute before he realizes it's an illusion, could I summon with Song of Creation basically the picture I've posted in D&D room and set it up, like unfold the poster and set it up so it looks like there's no one on the road?
Explain how?
So like a folded up canvas with some supports, so it fits into the size limitation, because I think I can only do up to large size, and just unfurl it onto the road, so it's a perfect image of the road, but with no one on it.
What? Just that would fool him as soon as he steps out of the guardhouse. At which point the perspective trick would be ruined.
Well, if it's far enough down the road, the perspective should be fine for a little while.
Oh, I see. So, like, you've travelled down the road by a little bit, and then you've summoned this forth, and then you've quickly and hastily set it up and prepared it, and then placed it down.
Yeah, and then just continued on.
Okay, sure. I'm going to say the act of summoning this forth in a rolled-up format, and then proceeding to set up presumably something that you would a large easel of sorts that you would use to hang it up, which would probably be a second casting of your creation. You could do this possibly even within a minute, but I'll have to ask you to roll in order to try and make it look convincing.
Okay, may I enlist help from the party on setting this up?
I don't see why not.
Anyone interested?
Sure.
no.
What would this be, like persuasion roll maybe?
No, this isn't persuasion. This is how proficient are you at very quickly and hastily setting up what effectively amounts to a small billboard in the middle of the road. And you have probably somewhere in the realm of like 20 seconds to do so.
Wait. Was this a billboard for our band?
No, this is a small billboard
so.
that Cardgal wants to set up in order to hang a large image that would fool the guard into thinking that he is looking at an empty road, when in reality he's looking at a painting of an empty road.
I see. I wasn't looking at the.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the Wile E. Coyote thing.
No, I thought you were doing that first. I just hadn't looked at the image you posted yet. Anyway.
What role would that be though, Ginger? Like what, athletics?
I would say it would probably just be a general dexterity. Athletics would be doing something that, like, you are. Athletics would be you are skillfully doing manipulating something of great weight. This is not particularly heavy. This is just, well, you are hastily setting up a small billboard, so a degree of deft and skill is needed. If you have woodworking tools, that might work.
I don't know if I have any relevant tools. I've got Tinker's tools.
Tinker's tools would work about as well as just general dexterity, I would suppose.
All right, I will roll my best stat then, my -1. And I get a 10.
Amazing. I would say, let me roll for the dwarf in question. By the time you have finished setting up the easel and are starting to unfurl the poster, he's already made his way out of the guardhouse and is calling after your party. You get the impression that whatever it is that you're trying to set up here, he would see you doing most of the setup process.
Wow, that's just disappointing.
He rolled a natural 19 on his general getting out to shout at you roll.
You know, guys, we should probably just hire this guard as our perception NPC.
Does seem to be pretty good at it.
It's almost as if there's a reason why he's hired as the guy that looks at people going in and out of the town.
I know what I was thinking.
So anyway, as you make your way into the town of Donheim,
Doge won't be firing him.
The most noteworthy things that you are able to spot as you make your way in are that it appears as though the town is largely set up running alongside either side of the river that runs through the area, with a small selection of bridges that cross over the town, and there otherwise being not much in the way of extension beyond that point. On the southern side of the town, you can see that there is one of the two large spires that you were able to spot some distance away, and the other one is located on the opposite side of the river. The what is noteworthy, however, is that it appears as though that the southern side of the town is almost partially built into the mountains that are just to the south of Donheim. For the sake of easy representation, it appears as though that there are several miles between the town and the mountains, but in reality, the town is effectively built into and on the side of this small outcropping of peaks in the area. And whereas the south side seems to have a general, I would say, grubbiness about it. You get the impression that this is more the working class side of things. The north side looks a little bit more nice, if you will, with a little bit more of a aspect of polish to it. Although you can't help but feel as though that there may have been once a greater aspect of wealth to this place that has now fallen into decline. You feel as though perhaps the golden age of Donheim is long in the past. That being said, as you have traveled in, you have arrived on the south side of town. There is a bridge which crosses over the river to the most eastern part of the town, which seems to continue on up, seemingly traveling along the broad coastline area, presumably to travel up to the main capital city of Warrenheim. But you have arrived, and if there is anything in particular that you want to look out for, do let me know. Otherwise, I will tell you what you can see from your immediate vantage point.
I'm looking out for magic shops that sell musical instruments, etc. That type of thing. Something that would be,
Right.
likely of interest to Bobby. Also, if there's any, large groups of attractive girls hanging around anywhere, he'd probably want to investigate.
Cargo is
Well-
interested in any bars where you might be able to find more information or rumors about the musical instruments that we're seeking in the mountains.
Well, as a matter of fact, there is, given what Bobby just described, he's one of the things that he's looking for is large groups of young girls. That would actually bring a aspect of this town immediately to Bobby's attention. That being that, barring young girls, there doesn't seem to be much of anybody around here. There appears to be practically no foot traffic at all, with only but a single lone individual apparently making his way along the far side of the river at seemingly quite a hurried pace.
So the place is freaking dead, is what you're saying?
Yes. In fact, if you had to guess, you would say that there's effectively no nightlife whatsoever. There are, however, plenty of signs of life. None of the buildings that you're able to spot appear to be abandoned, and in fact, there does appear to be plenty of active smokestacks on the various tops of buildings, indicating active fireplaces, and quite a few of the windows that you're able to spot from your current vantage point do appear to have some degree of light on the inside.
And we were here essentially on the sort of trying to find magical musical instruments, yes? That may be
Indeed.
situated in the mountains nearby, or the mines. Is that not right? Is my memory serving correctly?
Indeed, the reason your party has travelled here is that you are you were informed by Cardgar that there are rumors of of some powerful magical musical instruments or artifacts that are located somewhere within the vicinity of this town. By the way, a couple of the things that you said that you were looking for were a magic items shop, and another thing that you mentioned was that you were looking for an inn, I believe?
Yeah.
There are a small variety of inns that you're able to see from here. They appear to not have any names because I can't think of any in particular right now at this very moment. I will look some up later. But there are a total of 3 that you can see from this area that you're stood upon. 1 on the south side of the river and 2 on the north side. One that's relatively close to where you're standing and another that's a fair bit further along towards the west side. And in terms of the magic shop, you can see that there is one on the south side, a fair few doors down the way, which you get the impression that it's a magic shop, but you also get the impression that it's not a weapons shop. It's difficult to put your finger on it, but it has just an air of wobbliness to it. People who are gifted with magic have the ability to just have an inherent sense of what is or isn't mundane, and this particular building it's activating your radar, so to say.
Sure.
Guys? Yeah?
I don't think so.
In that case, let us go check out said place.
Right, so you're headed towards the shop which is giving off magical whammies.
Definitely.
As you make your way along the road, you are able to spot a few individuals that appear to be peering out from windows in your general direction, and don't seem particularly perturbed by your existence, but they do look as though they have a slight inkling of worry on their faces. I'm not going to make you roll insight for this. This is just obvious. And as you continue traveling along, you eventually arrive at this shop of sorts. And looking in through the window, you can see that there appears to be a variety of various implements which do indeed appear to have a magical flair to them, but of a particular bent. They all appear to be in some form or another magically enhanced mining equipment. What is noteworthy about this is that, unlike other magical items that you have encountered when traveling about, these appear to be specifically of the dwarven variety. That being the usage of magical runes that are etched along their surface with using the dwarven script in order to grant them their magical effects. The dwarves having their own particular preference in how they go about enchanting a given item.
And they do that by inscribing runes down the side of things.
Typically, yes.
That seems like something
Down the sides of things or along their surface.
That strikes me as being something that is copyable.
It is.
These mining equipment they have. I'm assuming we're talking about, you know, pickaxes that do extra damage to rocks and the sort.
Presumably.
Or,
the shop does appear to be open, by the way. You can see through the window that there are lights on, though you're not able to spot anybody actually in the building at this given moment. Though you suspect it may be a larger structure.
Let's go in and find out. I mean, it strikes me that if it is just runes, and those runes are all visibly, you know, on display on the equipment, then we might have ways of copying said runes and putting them onto non-mining equipment.
Roll me an Arcana check.
I will roll you an Arcana.
With a 16, you are able to pull some information that's been stored somewhere within the back of your mind that gives you the impression that whilst the inscribing of the runes is definitely part of the process, there's probably more to it than just that.
Okay. Let's just go in and talk to the shopper.
Well, as you make your way in, you try the door, and it does indeed open quite easily. And making your way inside, you are pleasantly surprised that the structure appears to be rather spacious and warm on the inside. It's got a very cozy, homely feeling to it the moment you pass through the portal that is the front door. And as you make your way into the interior structure, you notice that the front door seems to lead to a stairwell that leads up to an area that is elevated off the ground floor by probably 1 story. And upon arriving at this elevated area, you see that there is a couple of things of note. First of all, on the far side of the wall, there is a seemingly solid single glass pane, preventing access to but allowing visibility to a wide variety of magical mining equipment, which seems to take the form of various pickaxes and chisels and some mining paraphernalia like helmets and the like, and also a few magical lanterns as well from the looks of things. Whereas in terms of what's able to be handled without accessing this magical items cabinet, there appears to just be a single pickaxe just positioned in the middle of the room on a somewhat short round table. And as your party makes your way in, a dwarven fellow with a rather thick but otherwise entirely greyed beard makes his way into the area and looks towards your party and says, "Oh, hello. I haven't seen you lot before."
No, we haven't seen you before. But that's largely because we've just come into Donheim from travelling from Varpak. Never been here before.
"Oh, city folks. Right, okay.
Not really,
And,
actually.
oh?
No, we travel all around. We are a party of mere bards and players. But we like to travel about a bit.
Ooh, musical folks.
Ish. Yes, adventurers of the sorts.
Right. And, why is it that you're in my shop today?
Well, there seemed to be an aura of magic exuding from the shop, and I thought, you know what, that might be a place where we can find out. That it just seemed interesting. Although I am seeing that there is just an awful lot of mining equipment in here.
Aye, well, this place is a mining town.
Yes.
Well, I presumably you're looking for something to buy, or at the very least, just looking.
Just looking for the I mean, I don't really fancy mining myself. I'm not really the strongest of people. I don't think I would be particularly suited well for mining. But I'm always interested in magic, and there
Right,
seems to be a
well,
lot
I
of
can see
magic
that
coming
you're a
from it.
nice chap, and I must admit, I'm not terribly busy right now, so let me give you a little show around.
Go on.
And he makes his way over to the small round table, and he picks up the pickaxe that is laid across it, and as he holds it, he hands it to you and says, "Give this a give this a feel. Tell me what you think of it."
Okay, I will take the pickaxe from him. How do I feel about the pickaxe? Is it heavy? It's probably very heavy for me because my character is not the strongest person.
You are shocked at how lightweight it is.
Huh.
If you were familiar with the modern day real life, you would be quite convinced that this was a very realistic looking foam replica of a pickaxe.
Oh. And yet it isn't. It's clearly metal. I'm assuming.
You flick the blade and it rings like metal.
Well, that is very light. I'm very impressed.
Aye, isn't it?
How
It's a basic model.
how do you make it this light?
Well, and he steps forward and tries to take the pickaxe out of your hands, and assuming you relinquish it,
Of
he will
course.
then present it to you and run his finger along the crescent-shaped double-headed blade on the top of it, and he will say, "The inscription here is basically all about trying to reduce the amount of weight within the item without actually reducing its capability of transferring momentum. It's very difficult to get used to, but once you do, it seems to have this property of seemingly taking no effort to swing it whilst doing plenty for cutting through the stone."
I imagine that would be a very good inscription for things like swords or heavy armor or various things, or maybe just on. Could you use that inscription on like a backpack that you've filled up with stuff?
I, sup- I suppose I could, but it wouldn't really work. You see, the pick. It's not. Wait, let me show you something. And he takes the pickaxe and does a big overhead swing and swings it straight into the table in front of you. And you are surprised to see that it bounces off, with the table taking practically no damage whatsoever. In fact, there's little more than a light dent left behind where the pickaxe impacted.
Hmm. I can't see that
Now,
doing
you
much
see,
to rock.
Well, you see, that's where the magic comes in, because whereas it doesn't really do much to the wood of this table, the enchantments specifically allow it to pierce through stone and do so with terribly great efficiency.
I see.
It's I suppose a good way to describe it would be that it's kind of like if you think of somebody who has spent all of their life trying to figure out how to do one specific thing, a specialization of skill, if you will. This is kind of like what we've done here with this pick. We've made it terribly good at cutting through stone so that it can be extremely light without sacrificing its ability to actually cut through a rock or two.
I see. So it can cut through rock, but it can't break through a wooden table. I'm assuming the wooden
Aye.
table isn't enchanted to be some sort of indestructible wooden table.
No, if you've this is intended to be sacrificial, feel free to take a stab at it, literally.
Take a stab at it.
I assume you do so with a rapier?
I will do it with my rapier.
Well, exactly as expected, you stab at it with a rapier strike, and the rapier digs in and leaves a nice little dent. You would estimate that you maybe gouged about a centimeter deep hole in it. And as you do so, you notice that he doesn't seem particularly bothered at the fact that you've just damaged his table, and he says, right then, so that's part of what we do here. Do you have any questions?
I kind of want to see it working on a rock. This is kind of fascinating. Do you do these inscriptions yourself?
Aye. Me and I'm a partner who's currently out of the shop at the moment.
Huh. Do you
Anyway,
do other types of inscriptions on things? Could you do stuff for like armor and weapons and musical instruments, perhaps?
He thinks for a moment and says, aye. There's most of what I can do is mostly related to the cutting through of stone and the like, but I suppose there's a few of them could be transferred to the likes of a musical instrument, you say?
Yeah.
What kind of instruments are we talking here?
I was thinking of something like a lute or a guitar or something that you could give maybe a good strum to that would reverberate a powerful sound, or an enchanting and enchanting sound, perhaps.
Maybe
She
something to give it a
thinks
bonus to rock.
she thinks for a moment and strokes his beard and then says, could make it lighter and stronger?
Lighter and stronger is good.
Not sure what that would do for the acoustics.
No, probably not good things, actually, in some respects.
Argo will hold out his axe guitar and ask if that might help with this.
What are you planning to do with that?
What does it look like it would be useful?
Well, it looks like it's got some strings along it, which I presume are some kind of musical instrument, but it clearly looks like an axe to me.
Aye, that's exactly what it is.
Okay, so if you use it like an axe more than you do like an instrument, then I could make it so that it was particularly good at cutting through other metals. I could probably alter the rock cutting enchantments to make it do that a little bit better. You have to understand, these aren't weapons that you're looking at. Not unless you're looking to kill a particularly nasty rock.
You never know. We had to kill an awful lot of nasty waters fairly recently. But that was being controlled by a small crab. With a...
He laughs at that and says, "It's a tall tale."
Well, it was a tasty
What,
tale.
did it try to give you a bath?
Very, very serious bath, yes.
Okay. Right.
In fact,
you said you
do
wanted
we
to
have
give it a go on a rock.
Yeah, definitely.
Right then, give me just a moment. And he makes his way into a small area around the back. You get the impression that it's some kind of like warehouse or perhaps a workshop. And you see him walk back into the room with not carrying anything, but trailing behind him, you do see on a grey, almost looking like a translucent glass plate, a large boulder, about 2 and a bit feet across in terms of its width, and about half a foot thick. It's like a very, very large, scaled up skipping stone. And he just gestures towards you and says, "Give it a swing."
I'll give it a swing in that case.
I would say roll me a general strength check.
Oh god. A general strength check. Gonna do it with dexterity.
Oh no. And that's a save too.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have any bonuses to your save, so that'll be the same regardless.
Yep.
So with a 3, you swing the pickaxe with tremendous speed due to its almost unnatural light weight. And as soon as the pickaxe hits the stone, it just bounces straight off in a similar manner to how it bounced off the table.
Mm.
And Robbie did insight check. Yeah, that's definitely high enough to be able to see that there's some degree of surprise on the old dwarf's face.
I'm gonna hand it back to him. I'll tell you what, you show me. Like I said, I'm not the strongest man in the world. More of a musician, bit more of a lover than a fighter, etc.
I'm beginning to see that.
Probably couldn't fight my way out of a burlap sack.
He takes the pickaxe in 2 hands and he gives it an overhead swing straight down. And you can see as the pickaxe impacts with the stone, it hits not quite in the center, but more like halfway between the center and the edge. And as it does so, you see a mighty crack fall down the center of the stone. And where the crack formed, you could see that the pickaxe actually dug into the stone by maybe a centimeter or 2, not quite an inch. And as he wrenches the pickaxe out to the side, you see the stone is now exposed and cut in half. Or not quite in half, but there's certainly a split all the way through it. And he says, "Well, there you go. I'm not particularly great with a pick myself, but as you could see, it did the job."
Oh. Yeah, that's quite impressive considering it did nothing to the table.
Aye. Now, obviously, you might think that a regular old pickaxe could do the same thing, which it could. But the key difference between this and a mundane pick is that you won't get very tired swinging this around all day.
No, I guess not.
So, actually, I was about to ask, are you interested in buying? But I suppose you're not, are you?
Not really. No, but we might be interested in your services as an inscriber of enchantments.
Righto, okay. I can see why that might be something that you're interested in. I can do inscriptions on items of your choice, and there's a variety of things that I can do, and I might be able to tweak things to make it work a little bit better for you, but largely speaking, mining and playing a musical instrument don't tend to have much in common.
Well, unless you play the drums.
I could make a drumstick that would certainly hurt a drum an awful lot more than normal, but you wouldn't have a drum for very long.
A fair point.
Oh, how often do you find yourself fighting against creatures of a non of a non flesh and blood nature?
Doing that just the other day.
I mean, we were doing that just the other day with the water.
Aye, you did mention that you were fighting against. I'm gonna hazard a guess that they were water elementals.
Elementals, yeah. But before that, there was the wyvern, and before that, there was the orcs, and then before that, there was the giant interplanetary or interplanar whale.
I'm going to do a minor illusion for each one Trig mentions for visual aid.
And then before that, there was the seagull. Anything before the seagull or in between the seagull and the whale?
That was the spider fish thing.
Oh yeah, there's the spider. No, that was after the seagull.
No, it was.
That was before the seagull. That was before the seagull. The seagull was as we were coming into Varpac. Yeah, that
right,
was...
well, all the things that you've mentioned so far are kind of fleshy things, and
yeah, mostly.
I wouldn't be able to give you much help with that. But for killing water elementals, well, the elementals, they're pretty simple in terms of what they're made of.
Yeah.
And the clue's in the name. And I'm pretty sure that whilst I can't give you much in the way of something that would cut through a person's skin, or a thing's skin, or bone, or, that kind of stuff, well, an enchantment that just says cut through stone would probably be able to be told to cut through water. I could see that being possible.
That was my thoughts. Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to do much on a conventional puddle.
Couldn't you, it could just say cut through anything?
No. No. That would be very useful, don't get me wrong, but no. Anyway, what is it that you'd like me to take a look at? Doing these runic inscriptions isn't something that can be done on a short time scale. It's something that needs to be repeated over the course of several days, usually, even for the most simple of enchantments.
Okay.
So anything that you're willing to leave with me, I'd be able to give a look at, and then, well, I'd be expecting half of the price up front and half on when the work is done.
I'm looking for some sort of improvement to my sword. My rapier is a little bit normal. shall we say. And the things we've been
Right.
running into of late have been a bit super normal, shall we say. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to leave anything with you now, but let me have a think on it. Do you happen to know anywhere else around here that might be able to help with something that's a bit more, up our street, so to speak?
So, arms, armor, and maybe a side of musical instruments.
Yeah, we actually remember hearing rumor of some enchanted musical instruments, perhaps buried in them there hills, so to speak. You wouldn't know anything of that either, would you? Whilst we're here.
No. The only thing that I know about the mines is that they were once particularly rich with gold, and you occasionally find the odd person wanting to go back in there to see what they can pull out of the mountain, but most people don't go in there these days on account of the wyverns that have taken up roost in there.
Wyverns, you say?
Aye.
We had some wyvern steak lately. Nice, tasty. Bit of a bugger to catch them though. Killing them even
Oh,
worse.
don't you know it?
Yeah.
Well, the ones that are in there seem to have made themselves home there for the last several years. It's been a terrible effect on the local economy, but we've not been able to properly petition the king to send someone over to get it cleared out. Best we've been able to do so far is to only head in there when various observers have been able to note that the thing's gone on one of its hunts, which would give us time to go in and do a quick scout around, knock a few gold nuggets out the wall, and then scarper before it comes back in a day or two. Anyway, speaking of, are you sure that you said earlier that this is your first time in Donheim?
Yep. That's right.
Right. In that case, I shan't be keeping you. You've got to get to one of the inns before the sun sets.
Really?
The wyverns, they're quite nocturnal, and they tend to patrol their territory during the sundown. And if they were to spot somebody out and about in the streets, then there's a decent chance that you might have something fallen on you. They don't tend to bother people during the day, but at night it gets a bit risky, don't you know?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, that's that's worth knowing. Thank you. Okay, we should chaps head off to an inn or somewhere where we can get a room for the evening. Relatively pronto.
My name's Creamy, by the way.
Creamy?
No, Creamy. Kinda. No. CRIM with a Y on the end.
Oh,
Creamy.
creamy. Gotcha. Not creamy, like you would the center of a donut or something.
No.
Right. Okay.
If you do decide that there's something that you want to that you want to have me take a look at, then do let me know. I'll take a look, see what I can do. If you just get going quickly before something really starts happening.
Fair enough.
And he sticks around, and you can see he begins weaving some magic together. And Cardgar would recognize this as the casting of the mending cantrip, which you can tell is being directed towards the table that the pickaxe was first found upon, presumably with the intention of repairing the damage that was dealt to it when Bobby struck it with his rapier. But it's not long before your party is out on the outside again on the road, and now, as opposed to before, when you could see a single individual making his way away at a decent pace, you're simply not able to see anybody outside at this point. So there are 3 inns. At this point, there's one which is on the south side of the river, which at this point you are quite close to. And there's another one which is quite a distance away on the far side of the river that would require you crossing the bridges. And there's another one which is a fair bit closer, but still on the other side of the river. And generally speaking, if you had to guess, the ones on the far side look to be in they look to be on the nicer side of town.
I think the nearest place is probably a good idea. How close to getting dark is it?
If you had to guess, this is around the time when bats would start coming out. Bats aren't dragons, but nocturnal is nocturnal. If you had to guess, you'd say you have less than half an hour of usable daylight.
Then let's use that half an hour wisely and get somewhere to kip for the night.
So you make your way over to the nearest of the 3 inns, and as you make your way in, I will come up with names for the inns later. I'm afraid that's just simply something that slipped my mind when I was thinking of the overall structure of Donheim.
Shall we call it the Golden Pickaxe?
Sure, let's go with that. That fits. So, you make your way into what is freshly named the Golden Pickaxe. As you step into the building, you are immediately met with a small variety of dwarven faces looking in your direction. It appears as though there are precisely 0 women within this particular establishment. And of the men that you see, there is a black-haired, relatively short and unimpressive-looking bearded young dwarf who is looking in your direction, seemingly from what you can only presume to be a bar of some kind. Not with any degree of malice in his face, but with a look of curiosity, given the colourful nature of your party. And in addition to that, there appears to be a pair of fellows who are sat on the far right in a kind of corner of their own, who have definitely made note of your entry into the area. As you enter, you hear the short bearded dwarf call out and say, "We got visitors! What can I do for you?" I presume, given the time, you're looking for a room.
A room would be nice, yes, aye.
Right, come on over. Come on over. And assuming you do, he prepares a couple of keys on the side of the counter and looks at you and says, right, well, mighty fine dogs you got there, but I'm afraid that we don't have any special circumstances for them. And regarding the horse and the bear, well, they're gonna have to stay outside, I'm afraid. Not unless you've got some means of keeping them from potentially doing any damage to the inside.
Will they get eaten if they stay outside?
We've got a covered shelter that they can stay in for now.
Stables.
Aye.
Well, that serves purpose.
The dogs could stay in the stables too, but well, I presume they're more pets than anything.
They're more pets, and don't worry about the dogs. We've got the dogs covered. They've got.
Okay, if that's not an issue, then that's good. That's good. Right. By this point, I presume that the horse and the bear have been left outside. You're shocked at how the dwarf doesn't seem to care about the fact that there's a bear just kind of immediately present. But anyway, he makes his way out of the building and directs the owners of the horse and the bear to around the side and says, right, well, it's on you two if one of your mounts kills the other and has it for breakfast, but I'm going to hazard a guess that you've managed to figure out a solution to that already.
I shall make sure my bear is well fed before we turn in.
Right, sir. Good to know.
It's unusual for horses to eat bears anyway.
Well, you say it, but when's the last time Coat actually fed his horse?
I have no idea.
It might be getting quite hungry.
When's the last time I ate? I mean, when's the last time I breathed? I find these kinds of things to be a bit on the, yes, we kind of did it thing.
Well, the convenient thing about horses is that they kind of just eat the floor.
Yeah, it's one of those reasons why a lot of livestock that prefer things like grass are very convenient.
Yeah. It's very easy to source sustenance for them. You just kind of leave them in a field and they sort themselves out.
I was going to say, just leave them there and they're fine.
Well, in either case, it's not long before you are presented with a pair of keys. You are given 2 rooms. He offers you for... He just makes the assumption that you would need at least 2 rooms and suggests that you could stay the night, have drinks if you're so inclined, and you'll be welcome to stay until the night is over. And there doesn't appear to be any issues regarding the other patrons of the area. Generally speaking, it's a fairly warm welcome.
Wonderful.
Does anybody stay up during the night?
You know, I'm going to keep an eye out. I'm fascinated by these wyverns. We've run into them before. We've killed one. I want to see if I can spot one during the night. So yes, for a bit.
Right.
Does the bar have any interesting alcohols? Perhaps something to do with a desert?
Well, we'll cover that in just a moment. But for now, Bobby, if you are indeed staying up through the night, you would be able to spot from the 2nd floor window that it does appear as though a wyvern does seemingly make a nightly patrol of the town. Now, this town isn't particularly small, but it isn't particularly large either. It's, if you had to guess, it's got maybe 2,000 people living here. And the wyvern just seems to fly over the city and then turn around after it gets to near enough the outside of it, and then fly all the way back over again. And it seems to spend about, if you'd guess, about half an hour just doing a few loops. And at one point you see it switch from its standard flight to kind of flapping and hovering in place for a moment. You're able to note that when it does go into the stationary hovering state, that it seems to be able to keep its head perfectly still in the air, almost like almost kind of like a peregrine falcon when it goes into its observing mode when it's about to make a hunt. And moments after this occurs, you see a great ball of fire, it's familiar from when you fought a wyvern atop the mountain, get launched out and explode on the actual mountain directly behind your perspective. You're not able to see the explosion, but you see the fireball flying overhead, and you then hear a detonation some short time afterwards.
Fireballs?
Indeed.
Okay. Back to my cat and have no cat treats for him.
Oh no. Father's being an especially clingy kitty today, is he?
This is a terrible betrayal. No, he's just come to sort of say hello and beg for treats. No, he's not really a clingy cat. He just likes the occasional cuddle over me. It's okay, that's a cat. You
know. Our cats were raised initially feral, so they're not really... They don't go looking for attention, but they will tolerate it if you pick them up and give them cuddles against their will. Very independent, our two cats. So, with that said, Cardgar was looking for some interesting booze, I so hear.
Yes.
Well, when you approach the barman, he looks at you and says, "All right, what can I do for you, fella?"
What's the most exotic drink you have?
Oh, got some coin behind you, do you?
Maybe a few. Depends what drinks you have.
He thinks for a moment. Well, it depends on your definition of exotic. If you're looking for something that'll do something interesting, then I've got something for that. But if you're looking for something that's just from very far away, then I can do something for that too.
Oh God, just raise an eyebrow and interest, and so a bit of both could work.
Bit of both. All right. Well, he turns around and he pulls a bottle down from a shelf that a human would consider to be a mid-sized shelf, but to a dwarf it's somewhat high up off the ground, and he presents it to you and says, This is a very old wine that's been kept around these parts for some time. I bought it a few years ago from a traveling elven salesman. Apparently, it's from before the Elven Empire united, so it's a few centuries old.
Okay.
As far as I know, there's nothing special about it in terms of like magical qualities and things of that nature, but it's worth a fair few coin. So, if you want it, you can have it for 200.
Cargo considers this, and then after a moment asks, and what do you have on the interesting side of the scale?
Ah, right. Well, he takes the bottle back and puts it back on the shelf and says, right, for that, I would need to be back in just a moment. And he leaves you at the bar for a moment and comes back a minute or two later carrying a much smaller bottle. This is a bottle which looks like it's maybe 200 milliliters at most. And as he presents it, he shows that there is no label on this bottle, and he says, "This is an interesting brew. So, an old friend of mine likes to go traveling around in the wilderness off to the far north, and apparently, this is something that he picked up from a particularly gifted magical brewer from one of the more gnomish side of one of the little villas out there. And apparently, imbibing just a little of this stuff is it gives you a kind of chilled out experience, and I mean that quite literally. Just a shot of the stuff is enough to, well, you could light yourself on fire and not give much of a fuck. Let's just put it that way.
Cargo smiles at us. That definitely sounds interesting.
Aye. I had a bit of it myself once, and honestly, it didn't work out for me. I just felt shivers the whole night through.
Yeah, Cargo's interested in giving this a try. If any of the other Bards are still around, he'll offer to get a shot for anyone else who wants to try it.
How much is it again?
This bottle of the icy stuff. Well, this one isn't a full bottle, so whereas I'd normally charge a good 300 for this, I'd say there's maybe 100 of it left. There's a few people that have had a try of it and then didn't want any more. Honestly, the only reason why it's so expensive is because, well, as to my knowledge, I don't think you can really get anything else like this, like anywhere in the world. Not without traveling out to the wilderness, that is.
Fair enough. So what do you reckon? Half each?
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Maybe I could knock a couple gold off that if I can take a swig of it without shivering. What say you, barkeep?
Well, if I had to guess, I'd say there's about 6 shots of it left. So, if you're willing to give me 30, then sure, you can have a shot of it yourself.
If I take a shot and don't shiver, I can have the bottle for 30. Is that what you're saying?
Ha! No, absolutely not. What I'm saying is, you can give me, you can buy a shot, 30 gold, and if you can manage it without having much of an issue, then you can have the rest of the bottle for 110.
Just sorry. Am I failing to do numbers in my head right now?
Yes, you just said.
Didn't you just say 100 for the whole thing?
Yes.
Pretend I didn't say that. I hadn't figured out the actual value of it yet. Basically, this is 30 gold a shot. and there are 6 shots left. So he's valuing it at 180, but he's giving you a deal where if you buy a shot and you don't shiver, he'll give the rest of it to you for 110, which would be knocking 40 gold off the final price.
I mean, I guess I would have preferred the 100, but seeing as that didn't happen, yeah, okay.
Right then. As he pours out the liquid, you note that it almost seems to give off a kind of vapor as it leaves the bottle and enters into this very small shot glass. And as it does so, it comes out with a consistency that's almost like a syrup. The color of it is difficult to discern in the relatively muted light conditions of this bar, but if you had to guess, it's a kind of deep green to it. And when it's finally finished pouring out, giving it a sniff is odd. It smells like the sheer cold of a deep night in winter. You know those nights where you go out and you know for a fact that it's going to be frozen solid everywhere around you. That's what this smells like.
Just as an out of character question, has he just poured us antifreeze?
No, if anything, he's just poured you freeze.
That's what I was thinking. I was like,
Just
what do you mean antifreeze? It makes you chill.
Just checking. All right. Trigger, you also taking the first shot, or is it just me?
I'll take a shot.
Okay. What should
All right,
I roll for my bet, Ginger?
This is a Constitution saving throw, and given that you are a dwarf, you have advantage.
I also, from my equipped items, have resistance to cold.
Yes, but that isn't resistance to internally imbibed cold. I'm afraid that doesn't quite count here.
Fair enough. Constitution, is it just normal roll or a saving throw?
This would be a saving throw.
Okay. Anyone want to inspire me?
Sure.
So what's your inspiration do? Is anything special?
I am going to strum on the lute in a sort of a pensive sort of manner.
So you do the lute equivalent of a drum roll?
Essentially. Yeah, we'll go with drum roll. With a distinct wow 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 if he fails as well.
I got 20 total.
Well, you see as Cardgar downs the shot, you see he immediately goes wide-eyed as Cardgar, you can feel this liquid flowing down the back of your throat, and it goes down slowly, seemingly clinging to every surface as it goes down, freezing you from the inside out as it does. But a moment later, you feel as though you are somehow able to almost assimilate with this material, as you don't find yourself shivering, but you do find yourself experiencing a sensation that's similar to when you're just not quite at the point where you're uncomfortably cold, but if it got too much colder, you would be there. And as far as Bobby is able to see, your breath immediately starts giving out vapor as if you were breathing visible clouds on a blisteringly cold night.
Neat. Do I get like little icicles in my mustache and beard?
Not immediately, no. But over the next several minutes, those do form. Most notably on the mustache. The dwarf looks at you and says, "Oh, right, so you've managed to deal that, so, well, the rest of the bottle's 100, and, well, if your friend here has taken some, then I suppose that's down to 70. As he pours out another glass of it for you, Bobby.
Downs
I'm
it.
going to give you some inspiration by strumming out the first few chords of Ice Ice Baby.
So ice.
Cool.
Yes.
So essentially, you could also have that as under pressure.
True.
Indeed.
Roll 2d8 and pick the one you want. Not that one.
I'll take the other one. Yeah. 19.
With a 19, Trig, as Bobby imbibes this freezingly cold fluid, it pours down his throat, and much like it did with Cardgar, it seemingly sticks to every single aspect of his mouth, esophagus, going all the way down to the stomach, and chilling you out to your core. But whereas with Cardgar, it seemingly was able to come to terms with it after a short while, for Bobby, you just feel colder and colder and colder, to the point where for the next 24 hours, you are simultaneously afflicted with the poisoned condition and have vulnerability to cold damage. You are, however, now immune to heat, which also applies to Cardgar
But for how long?
for the next 24 hours.
Ooh. What should I write on my character sheet for the name of this, Ginger?
That's up to you, but the physical characteristics that I've described are that it is a dark green, thick and syrupy fluid that, when imbibed, imparts a DC 20 Constitution saving throw, which, if you pass, you gain immunity to heat damage, fire damage. If you fail it, you are poisoned for 24 hours, so that's the poisoned condition, and you become vulnerable to cold damage. Oh, even if you fail, you still gain immunity to heat damage. So it's some rather potent stuff. But unfortunately for Bobby, he now effectively feels like that. You know when you have a really bad flu and it gets you in the part where you just feel like no matter what you do, you can't warm up. That's what Bobby feels like right now.
Damn.
Which, to my knowledge, is a sensation that you're probably very, very familiar with right now, Trig.
Yeah. Yeah, recently it's been a bit like that.
So yes, you have 4 hits of this stuff remaining. And, well, I believe Trig needs to deduct 30 gold for the shot that he had. And Ez, you need to deduct 100.
Already done?
Already done.
Very good. And the short bearded dwarf in front of you looks towards Bobby and says, "I think you need to get some sleep, mate." But then looks to Kargar and says, "But you seem to be doing fine. You're the first person I've seen to be able to have a shot of that without looking like your friend there. So well done. It's been made of tough stuff."
Douglas smells it, says, just comes with being a practiced drinker. And then he strums a note out and summons a hot water bottle for Trig.
A hot water bottle that I feel nothing from. Ooh.
It feels good, but it doesn't even make a dent. As you hold the hot water bottle, your hands are warm, but your soul is still freezing.
Huh.
Anybody else looking at this, by the way, would probably consider Bobby to look like he is approaching death.
Bam.
The poisoned condition is extremely unpleasant. If memory serves, it is you have disadvantage on everything.
Kind of
That
makes sense,
is
to be honest.
all.
Every single time I've played a drinking game, this has been the results of what's happened. We did the hallucinogenic booze in the first, like the second pub we went to, and I was out for the count for the entire night. Bobby is not strong in this suit.
You said this was a magical drink, yeah?
Indeed, it is.
So are the effects also magical?
Indeed, they are. At least presumably.
Would you like me to try a dispel magic?
Trig?
Hello?
I was saying I could try casting dispel magic on you. It might get rid of the negative effect.
You're welcome to. It's not really magic, though, is it? Is it magic? I mean, go for it.
Ginger just said it was.
Typically, potions are non-magical effects that are generated through magic, though sometimes a potion is considered magic. Though, given the fact that you're not entirely sure how this one was created, there's no real way to tell without trying.
But another way, if we're about to have a long rest. I mean, I may as well use the spell slot.
No reason not to give it a go.
So, here you go.
Cardgar, as you place your hand upon your friend's shoulder, you imbue the effect of the dispel magic into his friend, but you're not able to feel any magical effect for dispellation to actually grab onto and manipulate in any way. And the effects of the dispel magic pass through Bobby seemingly without any positive or negative effect.
Oh well.
Bobby, that feels really weird.
Oh.
I believe that's the first time that Bobby has had dispel magic cast upon him.
I believe so, yeah.
To give an idea as to what it feels like, the sensation of having a very, very light and gentle touch rub up the outside of your arm, except it feels like it very lightly rubbed through the center of your chest.
Yeah.
You feel slightly violated.
Exactly. Feels really fucking weird. But anyway, with that said, I would say this is an appropriate time to say that your party goes to bed for the night and wakes up in a properly lit version of Donheim. Wouldn't you agree?
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the effects of this magical drink of sorts They do last for 24 hours. So for the next 24 hours, Bobby is considered poisoned, immune to fire, vulnerable to cold. But that would not preclude you from being able to go about and travel.
Yeah.
But with that said, it is currently almost 12:30 at midnight.
It is.
I can carry on with this if you guys want to, but I know that this is roughly the time where Kiki starts falling asleep in the chair.
I believe we've already lost Kiki. It has been a while. I haven't checked, but I believe we haven't heard from her in quite a while now. And if I
Yes.
go, Kiki, are you there? I believe the silence explains everything. So yeah, she's
Indeed.
probably passed out on the sofa. We normally go to bed at 12,
I have.
so yeah, this is not
Yeah.
common.
Right, fair enough. Well, to those who have been listening, I do apologize about it being a somewhat uneventful stream. The party have been spending the last several sessions traveling along and getting up to God knows what trouble. And this has been a bit of a quiet one, which my intention is to lead up to more exciting circumstances within the next several sessions. Tune in next time, and hopefully there will be some utter chaos to enjoy.
Cool.
I'll try.
Last time they blew up a small section of a city.
Yeah, we did.
Which
we did
was
okay
fun.
with that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
You definitely left a mark on that town.
Indeed.
Yeah, when we approached this town, you mentioned there not being a wall. I was thinking there's also not a massive crater, probably.
Look, there's room for improvement.
Look, renovations require the breaking of a few laws.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
Vil, thank you for sticking around for what I presume is at least the majority of the stream, and hopefully we'll see you back next time.
Indeed. Thanks for.
Like one of those philosophical questions, in order to save a bunch of slaves, would you destroy a large chunk of a city?
Yes. I mean, I would just destroy the large chunk of a city for shits and giggles.
I'm pretty sure that was the main motivating factor behind what you did.
It
Shits
really
and
was.
giggles.
Confuse an orc.
Anyway, let's end the stream here.
Indeed.
I'm good.
Let's do that. Where's the button? What is the? Never.
The perfect conclusion to any stream.
Right.
Sheer unbridled confusion.
Indeed. Well, the thing is, I've got about 1 million tabs open, and finding that one YouTube tab amongst the other 50 is sometimes tricky. Right. Yes. The stream is now officially ended.